Sorry about that, everybody. Citizens, it's that time. You officially and incinerator. Welcome to Incense and Common Sense, the live streams that we do here on the Alert Zone TV. Shout out to everybody because it's a worldwide movement. I hope everybody's having a good day. First off, before I get started, let me apologize. I did midday mania today. I had a couple people that let me know, excuse me, that my audio didn't sound well. I didn't have my microphone plugged up. I'm still working on figuring out how to have the microphone work when I live stream with this thing. But anyhow, I listened to it. The sound quality was low. I apologize for that. With that being said, just a worldwide movement. I appreciate everybody coming in. We're going to follow our normal format. We're going to send our shout outs and give everybody a couple minutes to get up in here before we get started on tonight's topic. As you guys can see, I'm rocking my old school mug, old revolver, bullets. Definitely. As you come in, hit the likes button. Make sure you share it. Let everybody know this is a good channel. It's a very informative channel. So definitely shout out to GunTube and shout out to the audience of GunTube. Without you guys and girls, we'd be just a bunch of people screaming to the top of our lungs about guns and people calling us crazy. So it's 7 o'clock, a little bit after 7 Central Standard Time. I try to be exactly on time this time, and as you guys and girls can see, I was fumbling around with the camera because I just got finished taking care of something else. With that being said, let me go ahead on and make my pitch before I get started. To the firearm industry, the Second Amendment industry, from the lights to the ammunition, to the mags, to the firearms, to the bags, to the gloves, the belts, anything Second Amendment related. Why don't you guys and girls think about teaming up with some of these content creators out there to help get your product pushed? Let's make this a partnership. A lot of us give y'all a lot of good advertisement. A lot of us review products for y'all with no compensation or not even a mention. I don't think it's too much that we ask to merge and make this thing be bigger than what it is. So, hold on. Who would be calling me this time? Hello? No, she left. She's going to cross the street. All right. Sorry about that, everybody. All right, we got 22 wonderful people up in here. Make sure you guys and girls hit the likes button. Definitely. All right, we got Sidewalk Talk. Oh, man. I'm glad you was able to catch me live. I hope you guys and girls can hear me just fine this time. I'm going to project my voice earlier. I feel bad. That was a horrible live stream. You might have to turn the volume up. I'll put it in your headphones so you can hear me. I almost decided to delete it, but I thought it was good information, so I didn't want to delete it. I'm sorry to everybody. I want to definitely give y'all a quality program. But so shout out to everybody though for tuning into Midday Mania. We're gonna have a talk about something that I don't know if many of y'all have ever been through, but I've been through. And it was because of crime. That's why I picked tonight's topic. So I give y'all a couple minutes to get in here, and at the 5-minute mark, we're going to get started like always. Got my raspberry flavored lemonade in my cup. Don't want to give the brand out, but let's go ahead on and get into it. We're at the 5-minute mark. So I wanted to talk to everybody about New Orleans and the National Guard. Um, New Orleans and the National Guard was the result of crime. So before Hurricane Katrina happened, back in the 90s, New Orleans we went through about a 3, 4, 5 year stretch where it was rough. Everybody 94 was wild everywhere in America. I think all big cities can attest to this. If you lived in a big city or close by one, 94 was a wild, wild year. But 94 was wild. What's going on? How you doing? How you doing? Welcome, welcome. And I think by 97, I want to say between 97 and 98, we had the National Guard called in New Orleans because it was just that bad. For those of you guys and girls who talk about martial law and stuff like that, we've had a walk through this. I don't know how many other cities had to deal with this, but I'm gonna speak from New Orleans. Me being a New Orleanian, a native New Orleanian. I remember when it was so rough that Richard Pennington was the police chief at the time. With the crime, and because when Richard Pennington became the police chief in 94, he made it clear he couldn't clean up the streets until he cleaned up the police department. And he uncovered the whole Lynn Davis, Antoinette Frank fiasco happened under his watch. They were brought to justice under his watch. They didn't start under him, they were just brought to justice under him. But it got so bad that they called in the National Guard. And for those of you who've never lived, and I'm not talking about like after a natural disaster, like after Hurricane Katrina. I'm talking about before a natural disaster, when things are so bad that the police department can't keep up that they call in the National Guard. If you've never been through it, you don't understand what it's like to live in a preliminary war zone. What I mean by that is nobody was dropping bombs and grenades, but we had the National Guard riding around in them Hummers everywhere they went. It was 2 and 3 to a vehicle. Anytime NOPD stopped somebody, especially at nighttime, if the National Guard seen cop lights on, they would pull up behind them and jump out with AR-15s. It was a scary thing, man. To just think that we had to deal with NOPD and now they had military backup, it sent shockwaves through the streets of New Orleans. So much to the point that a lot of stuff calmed down because of that. People understood you couldn't make no money. People understood you couldn't have all this craziness going on out here in the street. I mean, it was a wild time. I know when Donald Trump was president the first time, he talked about bringing the National Guard or the Army or whatever to Chicago. And a lot of people was outraged and, he's trying to practice martial law and this and that. We had already been through it in New Orleans. And I just thought that I would share this with everybody out in the public because maybe you've never heard of that. But it was rough, man. And when I say they were down there almost as an intimidation thing, you didn't have to be doing nothing wrong because NOPD didn't always stop you for speeding or not stopping at the sign or what have you. Sometimes they just stopped us because they felt like it. And the honest ones will tell you to your face, I stopped you because I felt like it. But nevertheless, it was something I dealt with on several occasions to be stopped. I mean, hell, sometimes you could be walking. NOPD would pull up on us and the damn National Guard would come right behind them. And they never got out empty-handed. The National Guard had their sidearms and their ARs with them, or M16s at the time. And they always got out brandishing those firearms. Basically to let you know if we get involved, we gonna knock your fucking head off. All this calamity that we having across the country. I know people might demonize him if he does it. I know that out in California, a lot of y'all got angry about the National Guard coming out during the ICE protest and stuff, and I'm not gonna get too political about that. But I kind of understand why and what y'all went through, because we went through it. I don't know if the National Guard was pointing guns at y'all like they was doing at us, but they made it clear to us. Some of them were cool and would talk to you, and they made it clear to us that they had the order that if we got out of line, to put a bullet in our head. It was that simple. Especially in New Orleans East, up and down Chef Highway, Chef Mentor Highway. For everybody that don't know, Chef Highway was the Blade, the Host Stroll, whatever y'all call it. And at nighttime, man, you would just see them up and down Chef. And when you crossed over the Danziger Bridge, you would see them up and down Gentilly Avenue. But the National Guard was crawling all over, man. And then they brought in the feds. I mean, it was a great time to be alive, but it wasn't a good time to be in the streets if you was in the streets, man, because you had it coming at you from all angles. And it just made me think about right now we having all these mass shootings. There's always something going on now. We're starting to have incidents more and more with mass injuries and mass casualties. As in the school shootings, shooting up these damn nightclubs, shooting up the grocery store, the churches, all this other craziness that's going on around the country. These spree shootings on top of normal knuckleheadness is bad. If you guys and girls have never been through that, I'm going to just give you guys and girls a head up. If you in the street, you guys going to have to do what they did in New Orleans. A lot of them street dudes got together and said, hey, man, whatever issues we got, we need to iron them out. We got these damn folks down here. Ain't nobody can't make no money. Every time you get stopped, these folks running up on us, they got these damn M16s out here, and they making you know that they will shoot you. I mean, like I said, I had a traffic stop happen to me one night. Going home, I was living out in the East at the time. Going down Chef Mentor Highway, coming home. Taking the back way because the interstate, for those of you who don't know, Chef was the fastest way to get in the East because Interstate 10 would be backed up sometime. And I got pulled over for whatever reason. And the next thing I know, I saw the National Guard going back towards Downman. Make that U-turn, and they pulled in behind that police car, man, and I watched these dudes jump out like they was in Vietnam with these damn M16s, and I thought it was gonna go wrong, man, because they jumped out ready for war and they jumped out ready for combat. If you ever live in the city where the National Guard shows up because of crime, or because the governor or the mayor or who have you ask for them to come in, I want you the guys and girls to understand something. They're not coming there to be your friend. They're not coming there to keep the peace. They come in there as reinforcements. And they're going to make you know it. Not only with their demeanor, the ones who will actually talk to you, they'll let you know. No, we came here for this, and we were instructed to do this. Now, after Hurricane Katrina, they came on a rescue mission, but they showed up as though that they were coming in a war zone. And I think it was General Honore was his name, who had to be telling them to put your damn guns down. You're not here for war. You're here on a rescue mission. But that's just the way that they were trained. They showed up, man, and they showed force. So if you live in one of these neighborhoods, you live in one of these cities where these guys out here, they doing all this unnecessary shooting and all that, I want y'all guys and girls to understand something. as the law-abiding citizen, you may not be able to penetrate their skulls. Go and talk to some of these dudes and chicks that you know is in the street and tell them, hey man, y'all gotta get together and talk this out, cause it's gonna be bad for everybody. Oh, I just thought that I would have that discussion since we in the Second Amendment community. We talk about being proactive, um, being able to stop crime before it gets started. A lot of people get armed because of crime. That's their number one reason. So I just thought that I would throw it out there to a lot of y'all. Um, y'all have been threatened with it. In some places, we actually went through it. We actually went through having the National Guard down there. On the Soldier Rags album, Juvenile has a song called Hide Out, Ride Out. And he talks about got Richard Pennington calling for the National Guard to come help him. Richard Pennington was the police chief at that time. That's just how rough New Orleans was. We was going through a real wild phase, like I said, through the 90s. It was the early, till around 99. From 90 to about 99, it was rough. By the way, shout out to Pause and Play NOLA. And shout out to my brother Eyes and Ears Tactical, because he down in New Orleans now, living. And I just thought this something he might need to know. I don't know if he is familiar with that, but I'm just giving the story, you know. It was a time. It was that bad. That we had to have the National Guard to come in. And the biggest reason we had to have the National Guard to come in was because of law enforcement. It started with them, but it wasn't exclusive to them. And I'll tell you, it finally got down to a point where you almost felt safe not having a gun on you in New Orleans. When Richard Pennington made it clear he was going to straighten the department out and the streets, man. It got quiet for a while. Everybody just decided it wasn't worth getting out here and shooting over the silliest thing, man. It became a good bunch of partying and what have you. We was able to go out in public and enjoy ourselves again. And Ray Nagin became the mayor. Couple years later, the water came in, and well, after the water, it got worse. Then after Katrina, when the National Guard had to come back down there, it was, wow, it was way worse than in the 90s. So I just thought that I would live stream this and just talk to everybody about that. If you live in one of these places where they're threatening to bring the National Guard in, like I said, out in California, I know with the protests, some of y'all didn't feel comfortable and y'all were angry about it. We had to deal with it, and I understand why the National Guard had to come to New Orleans, but I also understand why they came down to LA. For whatever I don't want to get into a political argument. I'm just saying I know why the government did that. So you guys and girls just got to be careful, you know. At least out in LA, they only stayed a couple weeks and they left. It was longer than that with us, and it was everywhere, man. I don't know any stories of them killing anybody. I do know stories of them going upside some people's heads doing traffic stops. They did have the power to stop us, because several times I've seen people stop without a cop behind them. So it's like being occupied if they show up and walk the streets. If you've never had that feeling, it's kind of an eerie feeling as an American citizen. On the one hand, you understand why they're there. On the other hand, you think in the back of your mind, are they there for the reason they say they are, or are they looking for an opportunity? Because they do have the right and are instructed that if they feel you getting out of line, to take your head off. For those of you who don't know, after Hurricane Katrina, the National Guard, the National Guardsmen that showed up, um, they did rob a lot of houses as they were going in looking for survivors and bodies. They were rummage through people's houses. Anything of value that wasn't destroyed, if they came in your home, they took it if they can find it. They were caught several times. I know you guys and girls may know the story. Some of you may not know the story. Some of you may have heard the whispers. With this being 20 years since Hurricane Katrina, you're going to see more and more documentaries on these streaming services. However, a lot of them don't give the full detail because they're edited. There's only certain things that they'll let you talk about publicly before they say it's a conspiracy theory and what have you. But having gone through what I went through, yeah, I remember hauling relief water. And I was one of the people that was back in the city when parts of the city was still underwater. And I remember going to check the house I was living in at the time, and the National Guard rolling up on me, and I had to show them my ID and what have you, and they had their guns pointed at me. And, it was quite an experience, just driving through the city, looking at the dead bodies, looking at all the carnage, the houses that were sitting lifted off to the foundations, the houses that crumbled, the odor from all the dirty, nasty water being there so long, the odor of dead bodies. I mean, it really looked like Hurricane Katrina looked like a war zone. So I had the experience of having to deal with the National Guard before a natural disaster and after one. And after a natural disaster, it feels even worse having them around. The feeling is very, very eerie. So I just beg people around the country, talk to people in your area. For the men, you got to talk to some of these young fellas. They may not want to hear what you're telling them, but you still got to talk to them, because you don't ever, if you've never been through that, you don't ever want to go through that. With the National Guard riding around everywhere you go, it make you feel like you living in an occupied territory. It's easy to say you would be happy to see the military until they actually show up. It's easy to say the military should be somewhere else, but it's not so easy to say when they show up in your neck of the woods. We understand that there is issues all over the country. But I want people to understand something. This is why you got to be legally armed. To deter these criminals. Because in the end, the law-abiding citizen, whether you think about it or not, you pay a mental price. Just think about this. Let's say you live in a middle to upscale class neighborhood. And every time you come outside your house to get the mail, to mow your lawn, to go to work, whatever you're going to do, you see the military riding through there. Guns at the ready. And I can speak on this because I've been there and saw it, for my Mexicans, for my Mexican Americans. You guys and girls know when y'all go and visit your family in Mexico, how different it feel that the federales, and in some places the damn military riding around armed to the damn teeth, dressed like Call of Duty warriors, just on a random day. You know the eerie feeling of that. For some people, it may not bother you because you know you're only going to deal with that for however long y'all there. But imagine living somewhere like that. Oh shit, we got a Russian in here. All right, what's going on, Russian? Told you guys and girls, this is a worldwide movement. But it makes you feel occupied. Um, and unlike law enforcement, when the military show up, they're not gonna play with you. They're not gonna let you get all up in their face. They're not gonna let you be doing all. They're gonna put you down. They're gonna put you down quick because you're a threat. You're considered to be a domestic terrorist. You're a threat. They're gonna put you down. I had seen it on the movies before of these quote unquote martial laws, and we wasn't technically under martial law, but we did have the National Guard riding around, man. And it was just a different feeling. A regular police stop felt different when the National Guard was there. Because in your mind, you was more worried about them pulling over and joining than you was about NOPD. That's just how difficult that was. And for people that never been through it, you don't want to go through it. By the way, as you guys and girls is tuning into this, if anybody has access to the chat room, put a 1 if you can hear me real good. I want to make sure that the audio comes out better this time. I don't want to put nothing out there that sounds jinky. You know, earlier I just had a couple of difficulties, but put a 1 in the chat if anybody is able to type so I can know that the audio. Okay. All right, appreciate you. I'm glad y'all can hear me. So yeah, like I said, it was just something that crossed my mind and I wanted to talk about it. I don't want to go on and on about it and keep repeating myself, just saying the same things, but I'm just giving you guys and girls a little tutorial. I'm explaining to you, you being legally armed helps deter criminals. And that also helps deter your mayor, your governor, the president from sending in the military to help get things under control. Because when the military show up, they show up totally different. They don't have the tolerance of you being out there screaming and telling them what you're going to do. And they don't show up with that. They show up to take care of business. Oh, okay. Oh, I appreciate you stopping through. I appreciate that. Yeah. Like I said, I just wanted to talk to everybody. And just to say, if you live in a place where it's the military everywhere, yeah, you get used to it and you go about your day, but you kind of would love to live in a place where you don't have to have the military rolling around. I haven't had the permission. That's why I haven't posted it. I showed it from the Mexican military when I go down there to get a video of them riding through town. I'm a foreigner, so I have to take my safety serious. Maybe the next time I go down there, I'll ask them if they're okay with that. And if they are, I'll take a little short video of them riding through town. But yeah, it's like the first time I saw them, I was like, I didn't even know that the town I go to, the damn military base was there. But that explained why I seen so many of them riding through town. And you know what they're there for and who they're there for. On the one hand, you're happy for them to be there in case hell break loose. But on the other hand, you kind of wish that you was in a place where that wasn't the case, where you didn't have to do that. It's kind of like being legally armed. Some people, on the one hand, wish they didn't have to get a firearm to protect themselves. But on the other hand, they see the carnage from not having one. So they go ahead on and they practice the Second Amendment rights. Some of us do that. Basically, out of necessity. We don't necessarily want to do that. Now, I, for one, love carrying firearms. I'm just saying, everybody don't carry it for the same reason. You know, some people, if it was up to him, they could wave a magic wand, nobody would have a gun. But don't wave no magic wand. I'm glad you can't, cause I need my guns. Um, we just had a knife attack. You guys know these knife attacks. For New Year's in New Orleans, we had a pickup truck attack. So, you know what I'm saying? So I just thought that I would drop this on everybody and make y'all understand. If you've never been through it, and like I said, without a natural disaster, if you've never been through the National Guard occupying where you live, it's a different feeling. Definitely. If they come down there because of spiking crime and law enforcement can't get it under control, they straightly coming down there to straighten you up, or they gonna straighten you out. Ain't no in between. So, for those of you who, like I said, out there in California, I knew what y'all was feeling, whether I agree with it or not. I knew what y'all was feeling about having the National Guard around there, because it's different. It's different. That's a show of force. And like I said, they will put you down. So, how about anybody in the chat room before I get out of here? Have anybody in the chat room ever had to deal with that? Living in a town where the National Guard patrolled, and is the feeling similar? Like I said, I know in some of these foreign countries, they may understand this concept because they have the military riding around where they live. Here in America, that's not a norm, but I've been through it. Like I said, it's a very eye-opening experience. So, yeah. All right, well, we done did, what, 30 minutes on here? I appreciate everybody tuning in. Told y'all I didn't want to do too live of a stream. I just wanted to get on here and talk about that. I wanted to do more live streaming to brush up on my skills, and to continue to try and give you guys and girls the best content that I can give. Like I said, here, this is the Nutritious channel. You're not gonna always agree with what you hear here. We like the Brussels sprouts. When you walk in the store, the Brussels sprouts and the cauliflower, you look at them and turn your lip up and you say, hey, maybe I'll come back. Then you come back and get it. You know it's nutritious and the body needs it. You may not care for it. You might have to hold your breath and close your eyes and hurry up and chew it. But once it takes part of the system, you be glad that you had it, because it does good for the body. Well, that's the Alert Zone TV, and I'm tooting my horn. You may not always want to hear what we have to say here. But you know what? After you listen, you take your emotions out, it be food for thought. You think about it. Yeah, they drop some gems on that channel. Don't always agree with everything, but they drop some gems on there. At the end of the day, that's all I can hope for. That I drop some gems, that I give people information that they can go and search for themselves, but information that they can get in a position where they can protect themselves, and encouragement for that. So, with that being said, everybody, I'm gonna let y'all get out of here. I appreciate y'all stopping through. We had a Russian in the building today. If you come watching from a foreign country, let me know what country you're watching from in the chat room, and if you're catching this on the replay, put it in the comment section. Also, if you're watching domestically, let me know what state you come watching from, and if you're comfortable with city. Maybe I've been to your city before. As I told you guys, I've been to 46 out of the 48 continental, Canada and Mexico, so I have been around North America a little bit. With that being said, I'm gonna let everybody get out of here. Hit me in the comment section. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Go and find you a gun tuber. If you don't like this channel, I understand. It's not gonna be for everybody. Go out there. There's plenty of variety. Go and find a channel you like and subscribe to it, and give him or her Support by viewing the videos. It don't cost nothing to view them. It don't cost nothing to give us the like. The like helps the algorithm out, and it helps get out our messages. Find you a channel that you like, that's more conducive to you if you just want to hear shooting. If you want to just hear strictly the law, if you don't like hearing all this, just whatever. All right, we got Tactical Skillionaire here. What's going on? I can't call it, man. I was just talking about New Orleans and the National Guard, and I was just putting it out there because maybe people didn't know that there was a time that we had so much going on in New Orleans that they had to bring in the National Guard to help NOPD get the city back under control. And I was just sharing that experience, especially with it being on the almost the anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. Next month in August, the end of August, it'll be 20 years since the devastation. And back in the 90s, we was going through a rough time in the city, man. And between law enforcement and the streets being so corrupted, they had to bring in the National Guard to settle the city down and get everything back to normal. So definitely shout out to you, Tactical Skillionaire. Shout out to everybody because it's a worldwide movement. I'm going to let you guys and girls go ahead on and get out of here. Like I said, one more time, find you a gun tuber. If this is not the place for you that you like, that you want to support, subscribe to the channels. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Give them a thumbs up anytime you click on a video, even if you don't agree. Because you may not agree with something doesn't mean somebody else might not agree with it. Give them a like. It's free. Viewing is free. Giving us a like is free. It helps us with the algorithm, and it helps us get what part of the 2A message that we want to get out there. So with that being said, everybody, until next time, stay safe, stay on high alert, and we out.